Welcome into episode number 2 of Every Day We're Covering. Chris Parks, SJ Munoz back with you here again after week 1 of college football, at least for the most part. We're recording here on Sunday, so there are some games going on yet here tonight, and though I think they got a stray one on Labor Day as well. But we've seen some things now. SJ, it's definitely good to have college football back on the television. I know that.
Oh yeah, that YouTube multi-view never looks so good. So it's nice to have multiple games going on at once. Kind of like for me, and you can probably relate to this. Kind of like Christmas Day for us. Like that's one of the better days for me. The first full weekend of college football for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. Makes things a lot more fun. Just kind of anticipating some things, and of course, when you don't have something else going on, that of course we're getting up there now. So we've got all these obligations and things to take care of now as humans. But when you have some time, it's fun to have something on the TV to watch.
Yeah, it's
So
nice to sneak them in. I mean, full disclosure, I do watch on my phone often when have to between and half times in between soccer and youth football games. So I'll put that out there. But you do what you got to do to survive, and that's just, that's one
exactly.
of the concessions you give there,
Yeah.
just to enjoy football and life at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and the beauty of technology that we can do that now, so
Right,
that's cool
exactly. Yeah, I
too.
can't imagine. Just even like when you think about, I mean, growing up, you listen to a lot of games on the radio, even like our generation, people our age, and it's hard to imagine not being able to watch it on whether it be streaming or cable or whatever device. Like it seems crazy to have to be like, dude, we used to have to just listen
Hmm.
or the occasional pay-per-view game,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
odd in itself. That was a nice Big 12 move there, but
Yeah.
anyways, just it seems kind of crazy to imagine that we used to just
Yeah.
listen to games and that was still good enough for us. I guess we just didn't know any better.
Yeah, well, and before our era, they wait for the newspaper to come out the next day to
Yeah,
find out what
exactly. Even worse.
happened.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want to get to that age group. I'm gonna steer clear of them if it's all the same to you.
Yep, yep, yeah, I most definitely agree. Well, week number 1, we definitely need a little time to vent about our own ball clubs, and unfortunately, you had to endure some more pain for your favorite team. It just seems to be that I mean, you got a storyline going on, and you can't get away from it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing kind of makes it tough is, yeah, it's the 20 some games or whatever the stat is. I'm sure at least a couple people tweeted that out. It was like
Yeah.
breaking news or something. Like, all right, we get it, we know. But I mean, it's for the this coach, it's 0-1. I'm not going to carry it over from the last guy. Like that's not his issue, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt any less, and it's still kind of annoying that just the simple things that can't get straightened out there in the crunch time. I mean, played well enough to win, didn't play great. Open up with a conference game is always tricky too. On top of that, and Minnesota's what 7 years deep, about 6 or 7 years deep with their coach. So I mean, their program's in place. So a tough out, but definitely could have won that. And it's kind of just another one of those to add to the list. But I'm still gonna stay positive, being that it's a new coach. Give him some time to get his program going because this is on him, but the other 20 some are not on him.
Yeah, yeah, and I saw your tweet about that afterwards too. This is a different coach. We're not going to lump it all
Right.
together, and that's the way it should be looked at. And hopefully, that's the way the locker room's looking at it too. They don't care about that stuff. All the kids, they
No,
weren't
yeah.
there, so it doesn't matter. But the little things like you said that were frustrating. It was turnovers again that really
Right.
caused the problem. I mean, otherwise the game is won.
Well, and preventable turnovers at that. It's like even the interceptions earlier were just. I mean, I don't. You're not in someone's head, but I don't know what thoughts was going through Sims's head. Just those. I mean, they're the only one close to it was the defender,
Yeah.
and then just at the end of the game, talking about a player that was on third on the depth chart due to fumbling, and you got him in the game at crunch time, and then lo and behold, he fumbles. I mean, kind
Hmm.
of just set yourself up for that one. So that was a little disappointing as well. But overall, just gotta keep building on it. I mean, positive is the only way to be here. Going forward, I don't know what. There's nothing else you can really do about those now. Even just this week one, put it. Whatever 24-hour rule, whatever you got to do, just get over it and let's move on. And plenty of motivation this week. Being considering who the opponent is and also all the friggin' fluff out there after one game that is crowned them basically your national title for 2024.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get to that in just a second. I thought it was interesting. Somebody brought it up to me about the graphic, referencing the number of games, that were the one possession games, and they were like, who was number 2 on that list, right? I was like, Probably Iowa State. They're like, yep, they were.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a
Well,
considerable amount less, but it was still, yeah, there was a lot in the last few years. So yeah, I can relate. I feel the pain.
yeah.
That's about every
Well, I
game
guess
last
that's
year for
yeah,
them.
comforting a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah. So
Why do you think
unfortunately,
we're
that's.
drinking these good beers here?
I know, no doubt. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm sipping on a little. It's Big Grove Brewery. They've got one out called Citrus Surfer. This is a place out of Cedar Rapids. I really like this one. I've been drinking a lot this summer. It's definitely a good summertime beer, so I'm gonna keep this one in the rotation for sure.
That sounds a little refreshing. I'm not going that I got went with the I'm all Weston today. I don't know if people are familiar with this area, but Weston's a pretty big winery slash like brewing type town. But I'm drinking the O'Malley's Dropkick Ale, and
Mm,
they out of a, believe it or not, a Holiday Distillery pint glass. So I'm all about Weston today. The Holiday Distillery's up there as well. So you
nice.
see your Chiefs vodka, that 360 vodka, they make
Okay.
that along with a host of other like McCormick's and all that. I mean, they got a whole long list of things, but basically, I'm all about Weston today. And so, if you ever get the chance, I recommend it to anybody. It's a fun town, a lot of stuff to do up there.
Awesome. Awesome. Dropkick Ale. I like that.
Yeah, the name too, you know.
Yeah.
That could be old school type of punning, maybe.
Yeah. 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 No doubt. Doug Flutie's not here, but we'll continue on with the beer. Um, speaking of drop kicking, I know a few of us are probably a little ready to drop kick the media hype that came out of the surprise of Week 1, as you just
Right.
referenced a bit ago. Colorado does find a way to knock off TCU. It was what 45-42 the final.
Defensive battle to the end.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll give them credit. They played well. They
Oh
made
yeah, for
plays.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody really knew what was going to happen with that team just because there were so many new players. And it's, it could have gone either way. I mean, we certainly thought it was going to go the other direction, but
Yeah.
didn't in Week 1. But yeah, everybody's all of a sudden, he's immediately, turned around the program. They're going to go, win 10 games now. It's like,
Right.
pump the brakes a little bit here, folks. It's one game.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, all credit. They earned the victory. Obviously, based on the picks I submitted, I did not expect that to happen. But at the same time, it's like it is one game. I mean, TCU was in the national championship last year, but doesn't really count for this year. So and they're not beating the runner up, if you want to call them that. They're not beating that team. They beat a whole different team. They were breaking in a new quarterback of their own, and like we said, I mean, it wasn't like it was a trouncing or something where it's like, oh my, I mean, they gave up 42 points, you said. So they got some work to do too. They got some explosive players, put up some points, and they were a lot of the hyped guys were hyped for a reason, and they lived up to that hype. But for one game, let's just chill out. Like, I mean, from my perspective, I'm glad. All the pressure's on them. Take it all. You're the best. Nobody can beat you. And we come in and catch you with your pants down, so to speak. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad that they got all the hype. Take it. We don't want it. We'd rather play that underdog role, if you want to put it as that, and just
Yeah.
let's go. And there's plenty of
Yeah.
room for opportunity there, is the way I see it.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, as you mentioned, that Nebraska takes on Colorado here this next week, so they get another test from a known program. So, be interesting. One thing I thought I came away from that game too was, and a guy I talked to at halftime of the Iowa State game mentioned to me that maybe Sonny Dykes did sell out a little bit last year with that TCU squad. I think he knew that he had some dudes. They brought in some guys, and he kind of was like, maybe this is the let's go for broke type of
Right.
year. And maybe it was way more impactful with the guys they lost than we thought. I mean, obviously, there's still a long season for them. They can turn things around too. But yeah, definitely a big drop off for them as far as the quality of football they were playing last year. They looked great at times last season. So interesting to see how that changed so fast.
I guess you can't really blame the reaction either with the Fox propaganda machine was just pumping deep. I mean, since during NFL preseason games, that's every commercial was I'm there talking to Aaron Andrews, giving her his sunglasses and all this on and on and on. Like, of course, I mean they hyped it up, so they did their job, and I'm sure they're happy as a pig,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that it turned out the way it did. So good for them.
Yep, it's
Hopefully that was one and done, but
Yeah.
like I said, just I mean.
good
It
for
is
the
what it is. One
commercials.
game. Congrats to them, but I'm not ready to crown them yet. As the late great Denny Green said.
Another interesting thing I was going to bring up here. not necessarily any games, but just my a little bit of a kind of side note experience wise. We talked about this a little bit on our first show, fan experience of going to games, and things have changed, and everybody does different things to try to make experiences better. But I went to the Iowa State UNI game, and they had some things that they had changed as far as the technology is concerned. And apparently,
Mhm.
part of this is Ticketmaster. I don't know what the whole story is, but essentially, you were able to used to be able to get away with like at least taking a screenshot of your ticket if you knew that that was going to be a situation where you had questionable internet or whatever. Well, now they want you to put it into your wallet or
Wallet,
whatever it
right?
may be. So, obviously, a lot of people figure that out fine. A lot of people do not. And then they had ticket scanners that were like little kiosks now instead of like the people with the actual things in their hands, which maybe is fine, but they had trouble with them. So it ended up being a disaster. Like there were lines at every gate that were extremely long. Like we stood in line, I think, for like 40 minutes perhaps to get into the game. So we missed like 10 minutes of the first quarter. And just frustrating. And I understand that it's not any one individual's fault, and they didn't want that to happen. But it's just funny that we keep coming up with these new things that we think are going to make things easier, and this is going to be better and smoother for everybody, and then it turns out to go the opposite direction. And it's like sometimes some of the ways we have done things are just fine. They worked okay. This it was a disaster. The AD has sent out an email about it saying, we understand it was a problem. We're going to try to do things to correct it. But man, that's just frustrating for people that want to be there and are there, and then you make it displeasurable experience just from that side of it. So that was tough. And then, of course, the other thing they did on top of that was go to all cashless deals throughout the stadium, which I know works other places and probably we will be okay when they figure it out. But they had some issues, had to shut down some concession stands because of it. And it's like these are
Hey.
simple things that we you have to be able to do this stuff if you want, and of course for them it's their benefit. You
Wait.
want to make money, you want to make people happy. Those are the things that just kind of get under my skin a little bit. You,
Well, and the
you want to
thing
make
is
the
too,
experience
you're
good.
not charging any less than you're charging more if anything else. So you basically have less employees. So in theory, you're paying, less of a cost to hire people to do a certain job, but you're still passing that cost on to the consumer. And then the process that you're, having to use for the fan to get in doesn't even work. I can kind of along those lines, a little different, but when you mentioned just the scanning your ticket from your wallet, where it's not an actual person. Kind of looks like a little stand, almost looks like a
Hmm.
freaking Tesla charger. The
Yeah.
one I went to, took the kids to the Saint training camp in St. Joe for the Chiefs here
Hmm.
this off season, and they had that, and I had the tickets in my wallet, of course, no problem. But instead of scanning all five at once, you gotta literally scan one, scroll to the left,
Hmm.
scan one, scroll to the left. I'm like, bro, like this does not make it any more convenient. Honestly, it pissed me off or anything. Like I was like, now I'm actually in a bad mood. Like I was in a pretty good mood. Like I mean, not a Chiefs fan, but I can enjoy the moment. But I was like, I mean, that's just I don't. It seems unnecessary. Like
Hmm.
I don't know why you just can't do it all at once. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, part of it sucks because it is what it is. What are you gonna do? You don't really have much control as a fan other than to not go. But then that kind of reflects upon your support of the actual players on the team. You don't want to, punish them for, the higher ups, the boardroom, the executives, the
Hmm.
white collar people. But I mean,
Yeah.
at some point you got to take a stand. I don't think we're talking to
Yeah.
that line yet, but it does kind of make it seem like, well, maybe I should just stay home and throw on the multi view and get me whatever I want to drink and eat. And my bathroom's 5 feet away and
Hmm.
there's no line, so it kind of promotes that aspect of fandom to a certain extent, and especially being a hot day. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're out there in the heat on top of it. It doesn't exactly, welcome. Be like, oh yeah, I want to go, go out in 100-degree weather, and then on top of that, just, you know, kind of be treated like you don't matter. So
Yeah. Well, I know they're going to work on those things, and I certainly hope they get corrected and it all is good at the end of the day. But yeah, it's frustrating in the moment
I
for
mean, we know
sure.
it's not intentional. It's just annoying
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
mean, the
Yeah.
money is that these establishments have, whether it be
Hmm.
pro, college, whatever. Like, there's no excuse for that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, and it was hot. That's for sure. We we noticed later in the game that it's like All the people on the other side of the stadium that were staring into the sun have left. All of us on the other side that aren't are kind of still here. So they have
When they
us.
start selling out of water at certain concession stands, you know it's a hot day because
Yeah.
that ain't exactly the drink of choice at most sporting events.
Yeah,
So
no doubt. Yeah, so interesting stuff. Another thing that we were going to bring up here this week in relation to just the games, and maybe my mind wasn't in the right place about some of this too when it comes to the gambling aspect of it as well, is we've got some pretty major changes in how timing is going in the games this year. No longer clock stopping for first downs. And that's made a big impact already. You've seen that in some games where, you ran a lot less plays. Yardage seems to be down from my perspective from what I saw in a few games. And of course, the end of the game scenarios are going to change because of that. It used to be fun when somebody didn't have much time, but they could still get all the way down the field and score. It's going to be a lot harder now. And yeah, I mean, as far as, putting up offense and putting points on the board, that might change things here as we move through the season.
yeah, I mean, kind of a style of play plays into that as well. But just the Thursday night game, the Minnesota Nebraska, I watched pretty closely. Just I mean, I think there was 5 drives in the first half. No, I mean maybe
Hmm.
6, but I mean there's literally like it was like quick. It was like a youth football game, and I mean a lot of times we want our coaches to be honest and say give a good answer. I'll give Chip Kelly credit. He put it all out there, and he said I hope you guys stole a lot of commercials or whatever the line was because he wasn't having that, man. Like, and that's a fast paced offense too.
Yeah, no
It
doubt.
ain't like they're huddling up. So I mean, if they're noticing it, it's something where it was noticeable. But I mean, once seems like these changes made, there's not really going back. Um, so just have to get used to it and adapt. But it was definitely noticeable. I mean, just to that point, like it was a different change, and it's gonna have to adjust. And I don't know. I'm sure there's some analyst or some glorified assistant on staffs across the country just that's the goal for the week. Let's figure out how we can maximize that
Yeah.
running clock. So I'm sure someone's on top of it already
Oh
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
bowels of stadiums across the
Uh-huh.
country.
Yeah, that 19th staffer that we need,
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, that's another story. Yeah, it's interesting. And somebody told me that the Iowa State game, they only ran 42 offensive plays, which is just, wow, kind of pretty dang low. So going to be
Like you
interesting to
figure a
see how
Big
that,
12 style of play is usually
yeah.
that's a lot. That's quick style of play. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to blame the offense a little bit because it wasn't spectacular and they didn't do a lot of either to help themselves. But
well, that's my kind of caveat to mine was the style of play played into that with Minnesota. They
yeah,
they did. I mean, second half they abandoned the run, but for the most part they're a pretty run heavy team just based on recent history.
yeah. Well, as we get into looking at a few games here, of course, we'll reflect a little bit on how last week went. And I had some
Put the
people
order
saying,
in now, yeah.
I had some people, I had some people saying some angry things to me about USJ.
Yeah, well, I will kind of. I mean, I wouldn't even say I was going on a limb here, but I would definitely wasn't alone with that TCU Colorado deal.
Hmm.
That was a big bet, and honestly, I know a lot of people made some money on that. But if you were saying you bet that with confidence, Colorado covering, I'm calling you a liar to your face. Like no way anybody thought that was going to happen. I don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe Dion in his little mind there is thought they were going to do it, but if you're being honest as a impartial party, there's no
Hmm.
way that you thought that would happen. So I'll take that one and take the L, but got to give him take the credit too where it's due. And I did get the under 45 there on Iowa and Utah State, but early on we thought maybe Iowa was onto something. I believe second quarter or so I checked the score and they had 17 already. Said, oh look out, but it wasn't meant to be. And just course on brand. Just missed that magical number of 25, right?
Brian Ferentz was breaking stuff in the locker room. Guys, get to
I mean,
25. Come on.
do you really think he's going anywhere though? Honestly, I don't think
Oh
it
no.
matters. I mean,
Yeah, at
that's
the end
how
of
I'm
the
like.
day,
It's just like, yeah,
especially if they win games. If they win
right.
games and it just still falls short of those metrics, they're just gonna say, "Ah, well, yeah, we didn't really mean that."
I
So,
mean, honestly, like I want him to stay. Like I don't stay as
well,
long as you
yeah.
want, man. Yeah,
Yeah, I think fans, opponents fans certainly think that. Yeah, they were on to a little bit of something there early, and I think their offense will be a little bit better. Obviously, you bring in a quarterback like that has some experience and has proven that he can be good at times, in Cade McNamara. But they did make a few mistakes. It sounded like along the way, and they also had an interesting stat that kept floating around afterwards, and I'm sure Iowa fans loved. It was the first opening drive touchdown pass that an Iowa football team had since 1991. That's a long time.
Yeah. Well, that's insane. Like, I mean, I know they've struggled, but you would think but in that amount of time, because they've had, especially in the receivers, if you look back at who went there and tight ends and,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, serviceable quarterbacks at least. I mean, a couple still in the NFL.
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
you would think at some point, even just a 10-yard out or something, a screen pass, even something like. Yeah, that's a nut stat. That's one of those kind of just like mind-blowing stats.
Yeah, that's pretty odd.
All right, well, I guess on the last pick that I had last week, I'm saying, you say people saying bad things about me. I'm saying bad things about Texas Tech, man. Jeez, seriously, a 17-0 lead. So I'm like, okay, I can, I'll flip around, different game, come back, check them later. They got it in the bag. But I will say, I know there was a bit of a lightning delay there. When I saw that, that always makes me a little bit, when it comes to like making plays and things of that sort, betting on games, like whenever there's some type of like unforeseen issue as far as that goes, weather related or what have you, I do get a little bit leery because it just throws everything off. Like, especially football is just such a routine. Like, they're creatures of habit. You know what I mean? Like, if one little thing is off, it's just like you could expect anything. So that did make me a little nervous, but at the same time, they're going to be on my list for a while. Tech. There's no way they should have blown that game. Like they had it. I know there was plenty of time left, but there's no way it should have went to double overtime or that they should have even lost on top of that.
Yeah, not a good outing, and it was actually a fairly rough weekend for Big 12 teams in general because they got knocked off. A little bit before that, I was watching Baylor go down to the mighty Texas State.
Yeah,
and
that might come up later. Just put a pin in that one. Maybe for this coming week, we'll see.
And then who was the other team? There was a third Big 12 team that got knocked off.
TCU.
TCU,
obviously, but technically, I'm counting Colorado as Big 12. Whatever. Like, I guess, they got one more year, but
no doubt.
Like, that's because I saw that and I was like, well, technically, it's Big 12 is Big 12, but or not. Technically, it's not, but literally, basically is. So,
it is.
Whatever you want to say. Like, stop changing comments if you want to throw up these friggin' stupid stats. But
no single team this season that has that stupid Pac-12 logo on their uniform cares.
They're not blasting out there like it. Well, speaking of that, like you're for now, your top brand that's still left with you, all their games are all like locked into your network where nobody can see it. And I understand that you don't want to exactly, puff them up before they leave town, but at the same time, it's like if you actually want to get people to watch something Pac-12 related, you need to get them on somewhat of a decent network. But I know it goes beyond just what they want.
Yeah.
Obviously, like they're not the best at making deals, probably the worst. But when it comes to TV deals, that's why they're gone. There, so, but it just seems kind of. I've known people, heard people talk that have been in Pac-12 country, West Coast, Pacific or Mountain or Pacific time zone that are in a location where they still can't get the Pac-12 network.
That's insane. Yeah.
That's like I said, one of those things. We could delve into a different day, but it's just kind of wild to imagine that you would want to promote somebody that's. They're obviously they rebounded well and had a good performance this week. So that's something you would want to promote. But
well, I will kind of own up that I was a little bit maybe half and half for folks. I did help some people out with my Tulane selection over South Alabama. The Green Wave came through, played very well, and looked pretty good, especially at the end of the game doing it. So they're going to be a team to keep an eye on. That was kind of fun. So they got the dub for me. I did kind of mention that I liked maybe Nevada sneaking in the back door against USC. Of course, that fell apart late in the game. They were hanging strong there for a while. I'm thinking, they're going to hang around enough. But no, USC did score enough points late in the game to cover that 38. So I'll give them credit for that. And I took the L there. And, of course, I'm not certain about the one that we had talked about otherwise, too. I was staying over in the LSU-Florida State game, and that's tonight as we're recording. So we'll see on that one still. But now that I've seen how the games have gone with the timing stuff, I'm not feeling so good about that anymore.
It might be an unders type of season. Like, NBA playoffs, it's overs, overs, overs. College football is going to be turning into unders all day. I think
Yeah.
just the way it's going with that.
Well,
With
it's
that
going to take
time.
Vegas a while, I think, to figure out how to adjust for that. I mean, I don't know how you do that and how what their processes are and going on, coming up with those numbers. But yeah, that's probably going to take a little while to figure out and adjust once you're seeing it happen.
I mean, you rarely do, but you're definitely not getting any type of plus money on any over under this season. I mean, in the past, you maybe could here or there be a occasion, but you're definitely not getting any type of that. It's
Yeah,
basically minus 110, minus 115 either way across the board from
yeah,
just the games I've been looking at.
yeah, no doubt. And of course, I stupidly don't take my own advice sometimes and don't like just bet single games like I should.
It's a
I'm always
bad.
throw it into a parlay somewhere and then it gets messed up by something else. So yeah, I was good at that this weekend. I'll admit that, but it still makes it fun. I always got a lot of games to pay attention to. We're early, of course, so with some lines that we'll be talking about are going to be early ones and may change here over the week as we go along. But that's part of the fun too, is seeing how people react to those lines that are put out there. But I was going to throw one out to start off with here that I saw as I was scrolling here a little bit ago, and I was a little bit shocked by. I guess not a lot because it just the way it went last year, but Alabama at home is only a touchdown favorite over Texas. I know Texas gave them that scare last year and really played well in that game. But this is in Tuscaloosa, and you know that Bama remembers that, and they're not going to take this game lightly. And they're looking like maybe they're going to be one of those teams that could potentially, put up a fight against making that three-peat for Georgia not happen. So they're going to be locked in on that. I see Bama covering that 7 easily.
Bro, I'm with you, dude. I'm hammering that. That's on one of the on my list as well. I mean, last year, like you said, that was kind of like, they didn't pull out the win, but it was almost like a Colorado moment. Like this
Yeah.
year, like what, Texas, what?
Yeah.
And then of course, played out like we expected to.
Yeah.
But they were competitive. Give them credit for that. They hung with them, for the whole 4 quarters. But yeah, I'm with you there. I'm hammering that, especially this year. Like Mr. Oatmeal Cream Pie there. He's on the redemption tour, like especially after. I mean, there's several people picking them 3 losses. They don't like that. A 9-win season, they ain't gonna be happy about that. So I think they're gonna, when they have the chance this year, they're gonna try to make some statements and embarrass some people. Just because, I mean, for them, it's been a while. Like, I mean, not most teams, whatever. It's whatever, but they're not.
Not their
especially under
standard.
Saban, it's their due. I mean, he's gonna find himself in some. Uncharted waters with that fan base. I mean, and you can call it crazy if you want, but it's just one of those places that it's if you don't win, you're last, right? Or however the saying goes. I'm not a NASCAR guy, but I'm getting that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. Hammer Bama, they're gonna. I see a 14-point plus win easily.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Another one I'll throw out there, and I hope I'm not going to step on your toes with anything.
That's all right. If we're thinking alike, that's a good thing.
The other one I saw, and this relates to one of your picks from last week. I saw Oregon is also only a touchdown favorite at Texas Tech. Tech coming off a deflating loss like that. Oregon put up 8 gajillion points against Portland State or some FCS team, but.
Still 80 points,
it's
man.
Still 80 points.
Yeah, freaking Howard the Duck doing 200 whatever push-ups. Like, I mean, come on, you got 80 points is 80 points, bro. I don't care who you're playing. Like,
I saw that. That mascot was dead at the end of the game.
You probably say, all right, they don't pay me enough for this. Like, if I have a new one next year, like we have a mutual acquaintance that used to delve in that world, and I'm sure he ain't doing no 200 push-ups.
No, maybe might be one of those things where they're running back to the locker room. It's like, all right, you're in because I can't do it anymore.
Go to the bullpen, man. We gotta get somebody else up in here.
Oh man.
No, yeah, I'm with you there, dude. I almost like I wasn't on my list, but it's kind of like on the maybe. Just I want to maybe like I'm gonna get some money back off these because I said they're kind of on my list, dude. Tech to piss me off, so I'm that's kind of like the revenge tour for me. Like when you screw up my bets. I got you on that list of I'm going against you until I see difference. So that's definitely a potential I'll play just to ensure that we don't have another double up here. One I throw one at you here. I kind of like that Miami A&M, and I know we were talking about the unders, but I like the overs on this one. Honestly, it's only 48.5. I kind of mean, Miami, yeah, they're okay, but put up 38 last week. A&M 52. So we know both got some athletes. A lot of, especially at the skill positions. I'm kind of toying with maybe Miami plus 4.5 too. I just kind of like the style matchup. I think I give them credit, but that's I mean that's neither here nor there. I don't know if I'm play that one, so that won't be on my list. I'm gonna stick with the over 48.5 as my like official play, but take it for what you will. But the analytics guys got about 53% chance of Miami winning, so just a little nugget there for anybody interested in maybe taking a flyer on Miami at plus 4.5. I mean that's a decent. The field goal game I could see being a field goal game, and you're good either way. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was impressed with the way that Miami won in that week one game for sure. I don't know if you saw any of that fun John back and forth they had going apparently beforehand with who's the real Miami,
Dude,
the Gabbert boy
I
was
think
just
I
popping
don't
off.
think I mean outside of college football, I don't know if I'll say half, probably less than that, knows there's a Miami in Ohio. So I don't
Yeah,
know what that dude was thinking. I mean, like that might have been one like a type where a Northern Illinois type where they catch him sleeping or something off guard, but you pretty much like put it out there on Front Street and you pretty much ask them to okay, we're ready now. You putting that
yeah, get your attention.
bulletin
Yeah.
board material out there. The receipts, as old
Oh,
Dion
Dion
says.
said, yeah.
That's his favorite word now. He moved from luggage to receipts, but I guess that's his thing these days is
Uh,
hashtags. I don't know,
yeah,
whatever. But anyways, yeah, he pretty much was calling for an ass kicking.
yeah,
That my Ohio
yeah,
player.
no doubt, and they got it. Yeah, that's an interesting. That'll be a fun game to keep an eye on for sure. Those two teams, they've had potential to be pretty good. Both of them, I think, this year. It's just a matter if they can keep it together consistently week to week. Got anything else fresh on the list you
Yeah,
want to
yeah. The
throw on me?
last one that you mentioned earlier, I'm feel pretty confident about, which I'm gonna play for sure. Is that Utah minus 6.5 against Baylor? Like,
Mm,
I get that it was week one, but as
mhm.
bad as Baylor looked, Utah might have looked as good against Florida without their starting quarterback.
Yeah,
So I mean, a touchdown, I'll take it, man. I mean,
agreed.
you losing to no disrespect to Texas State, but losing to that by double digits. I mean, I can't really roll with Baylor after that. So and just Utah's a damn salty bunch, man. They're a good looking team. Just the way they play does I don't think matches up well for Baylor.
I agree. They're tough. They're physical. The way that they play. They're a really solid team. I by no hiding. I am not a fan of Baylor. I don't like the university. I don't like them for a lot of reasons. They've had some history of fun
Can't
against.
say you're being blamed. Yeah, you're not alone in that, and there's justified reasons, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, against my team, and then of course just in general against humanity. They've failed on those fronts a lot of times. Um, but yeah, so I was having some fun watching them struggle in that game, and I don't know what was going on, but they kept shaping in the game. Their starting quarterback, he got hurt apparently at some point in the game because he looked like a zombie out there with his leg wrapped up with I don't know what they put over his. It was like over the top of his pants, like trying to keep his quad or his
You
a
literally
hamstring
have
good.
nobody else. Like that's all you got. Like
Yeah,
that's not a good situation
yeah.
to be in.
Well, and they brought in the other guy a couple of times, but it was only for like a couple plays. They didn't really
Just to
give him a
spell him like
chance.
yeah.
Yeah, like what are you doing? You just leave
Well,
a guy
speaking
out
of
there hurt
coaching
like that?
decisions, just to go on that front, I just caught some bits and pieces, but Michigan State kind of had a similar snafu with one of their receivers, Alante Brown, is actually a transfer from Nebraska. Is kind of how I come across the video and stuff. But either way, like I guess he got dinged up pretty good. I mean, concussed, like visibly
Oh,
concussed, and I guess he went back out there, and next he was stretchered off
oh no.
later in the game. So I'm just like, dude, like you want to talk about this time thing, speeding things up for safety, and you have all these, safety stuff, and then you do stuff like that, and it's like, we know what. Obviously, that's not the case. Like
Yeah.
you're doing what the TV, networks are telling you to do, and then you're hiding behind the veil of safety when you
Hmm.
obviously do not care about these players' safeties. Not in every situation, but in these certain circumstances, that's the last thing on your mind.
Yeah. Well, and we've gone through this discussion so long now, and they all have supposedly, their protocol in place that they're supposed to follow. Like this shouldn't be that hard to go through what you need to do and then just understand that this guy has an issue and don't put him back out on the field. It's usually pretty evident for people that are viewing it, from the outside. So why is the staff not understanding that and doing that? Yeah, it's crazy. I don't
Well, the
understand
thing
it.
I don't get is like, okay, let's say put the thing out there that let's say you don't care about safety. I'm not saying they do, but let's just say you don't put that on there. okay, a guy that can't walk straight, do you really think he's going to give you the best chance to win? Because that's what you really care about as a coach is winning, right?
Yeah.
So if he can't walk straight, can't see straight, can't speak, how's he going to perform at the level you need him to win the game?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't care about safety, that's fine. But I know you care about winning, so that should be the reason he's not on the field.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't understand the safety reason.
Yeah, and there's so many of those situations sometimes where I watch a game, whatever level it may be, and you see somebody that has an injury or they know and they're going to try to play through it or whatever during the game, and it's like, is this guy really that good that at 70% he's better than the next guy? Like, I don't. Sometimes that just does not make any sense to me. Like, you're just hurting your team more than you're helping them.
Yeah, I agree on that. I just don't get it, but also I've never been in that situation either. But I mean, I'll take the millions. I'll take that pressure. Give me that damn money.
No doubt. I had one more on my list. Actually, it's relation directly to that game too. So Texas State pulls off the upset on the road, and now they're still saying that Texas San Antonio is a 10.5 point favorite over them next week, which UTSA struggled against, and I believe ended up losing to, was it Houston?
Houston,
this
yeah.
week. Yeah. So I like Texas State. They
That's a big
played
number,
pretty good. So that's a lot of points to cover. So I'll give them a chance. They're going to be on a high. So you worry about a little bit of a letdown maybe if you had a big win like that. But against a team like that, they'll be ready to go. That's one I would keep an eye on too that I may throw out there for folks. So be interesting.
Sticking to my rules, I'm not going to play it, but that Nebraska-Colorado line is just freaking like a damn roller coaster. Like, it's insane. Like, it just keeps moving and moving. So anybody that's, I mean, honestly, like, wanting to take a chance on that, I just keep an eye on that number because it's moving one way or the other really fast. Even by like Vegas standards, it's you got people that have been in the industry for 20 plus years, commenting like they've never seen. I mean, obviously it's hyperbole. Don't get me wrong. But they haven't seen a line move like that so quick very often. So just might want to put that if someone's interested and maybe make a little money. Like, I mean, I don't bet on my teams, but if I did, that's one I'd definitely be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, interesting. By the way, wild week in the state of Nebraska. What in the world is going on up there in Norfolk?
So you got to narrow it down. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
This guy driving his bull around in his car.
Yeah. I guess that's a thing, man. It's not out of the ordinary. Supposedly it's not the first time he's been pulled over, but I'm just like, can you imagine that friggin' smell? Like, dude, what are you doing?
Well, that's what somebody said in the TV shot. You could see in the back that there's been some things happening with that bull that you don't want to happen in your car. Pretty wild. That was awesome.
That's why a good rule of thumb in that state is just don't veer too far off I-80. Putting it out there, like I'm from that state, lived there many years. Just no.
Well, don't be shocked when you see it.
I mean, it's not the only place that's got that, but just stay a little bit off I-80, maybe 2-3 miles either way, north or south, and you're good.
Oh, a lot of fun. So I guess that's kind of a look ahead at what we've got coming up here this next week. Of course, for myself, my team's getting ready for their in-state battle against those stinky Hawkeyes across the way. I did have to laugh when I looked up that line earlier here today, not because of the line. I think it's fine. Iowa's a 4-point favorite, and they probably should be the favorite. But the over/under I think was sitting at like 36.5, which is so low. But it's honestly probably on par. Like the defenses are going to win this game.
Yeah. But, I mean, they know what they're doing, man. That's why these, walk in these casinos and they're just like immaculate. Like that's when you want to stay away from that over/under at least, because you could see it either way, honestly. Like.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I think people are, from an Iowa perspective, probably are undervaluing how good I think Iowa State's defense is going to be this year, because I thought they looked pretty good, and the talent in the secondary is the best they probably have ever had, which will be interesting to watch. But Iowa always traditionally leans on their defense. I know they've got great players in all across up and down the lineup on the defensive side. So, yeah, it's going to be a defensive game. I don't think either offense is going to blow anybody away. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how it plays out, though.
I kind of usually expect like about 21-17, maybe 24-21 type game. It just seems to be the case when those two teams get together. So,
yeah.
About NFL, you feeling pretty confident for the Thursday night opener?
Yeah, I feel good. I
Chiefs
feel
man over here.
yeah, yeah. I think the Chiefs are going to be. I mean, I'd love to get the Chris Jones saga out of the way, but
Dude, yeah, I mean, honestly, like I don't follow. I mean, I'm here in the city, but I don't follow it super closely. But it kind of, to me, it seems like that kind of. I mean, obviously, it's probably brewing, but it seems like kind of escalated pretty quickly, though. Honestly, from my
hmm
perspective, that
yeah,
just from going to be like, you want new content, like I'm out of here, basically.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
but I
It's
mean,
yeah, interesting. I hope it gets settled, and I think maybe it will. Still, we might be surprised, but definitely an awesome player. We need him out there. That's for dang sure. But yeah, I think the Chiefs. I don't understand the national narrative sometimes. With I think, and of course, when you win, people want to tear you down a little bit. So I think that's part of it. They want something new, and they want them to lose. But the constant like kind of just jabbing at them. Oh, they don't have enough weapons now. Again, I mean, they figured it out last year. What makes you think that Mahomes isn't going to figure it out this year? I don't know. I think they're going to be just fine. They may lose a few games along the way, but I think they're going to be right in that mix again.
yeah, I'd say, like I said before, it kind of NFL is, it's a slippery slope when it comes to making some plays. But we'll probably maybe next week try to sneak an NFL play, at least one or two. Maybe I usually like to hit the over unders on that, honestly, and
Yeah.
unders very often, just with the types of games we have. So we'll try to sneak an NFL pick next week, since I like to see a week of action before, because preseason you can't put anything into
Oh
that.
no,
So
no.
I like to at least see 1 week of action where we start playing,
Yeah.
making some plays. So next week we'll get the NFL fans involved too.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're going to learn some more things about the college football world, too. That's also what we kind of talked about beforehand, is you got to have a while to really understand it, too, before some of this starts making sense. So
I'll be
it'll,
raising some hell next week if Saturday turns out the way to my liking. So be ready, again, Buffs fans.
all right, look out. Look out for those receipts. We're coming with them here next week. Thanks for joining us again next week. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. This is another week of Every Day We're Covering. We'll cover with you next week.